Hi everyone, this is Frieda from Supercell. I'm currently working as the art producer in Shanghai office. I'm going to take you through the journey of a marketing artist in China, alongside a peek into this market for the following 30 minutes. Before we dive in, I'd like to invite you to first take a look at this illustration on the screen. This is one of our feature art for Brawl Stars, showcased in the top Chinese Android app store in June. It was the brainchild of my talented colleague Chen Liu, our freelancer Rabix, and myself. Although it was just our second collaborative effort with Rabix, the result goes way beyond our expectation. The original concept came from Chen, and Rabix did an amazing job with color and light. Personally, I like it a lot, not only for the color using, but also for the story it tells. 3 of our brawlers just entered this huge mine tunnel, totally aware of the lurking danger. As you can see, the modest shovel nestled on one of the giant rocks, the flying bats, and Carl's pickaxe squeezed in front of the minecart. Everything is waiting in the dark for these interlopers. However, what the editor from the App Store wanted was something more eye-catching, since this illustration will be shown on one of the biggest feature banners alongside other games. When users open the App Store, these banners will be the first thing to pop up. Retention really needs to be considered in a case like this. Initially, it was a bit hard for us to get the editor's point until the request of how about making the main characters bigger and moving them to the center of the image was made. By then, I realized he really meant was let the focal area stand out, rather than eye-catching. Unfortunately, we only had 1 hour to make things done. To make things worse, it was a weekend. There was no artist or freelancer on duty. But I was lucky enough with all the learnings from different folks' classes in the past few years on multiple occasions. The rules of composition, unity with variety, the use of light, color, silhouette, leading line, among all the other tools he shared with us just came to my mind. So when I look at this illustration again with a fresh new perspective, I realized what caught my attention at first sight was the big bat, then the minecart, and finally the brawlers in the distance. I want to catch viewers' attention on their characters at first sight. So the dark bat was moved out of the way. Blur effect was added to the cart in front. And last but not least, the formerly bright background was dimmed. A stage-like spotlight was cast onto the main characters as a visual guidance to create a dramatic effect. So much so that the 3 characters get to stand out with highlighted silhouette. It is more straightforward when checking the mockups on my mobile device. Back to the image, when we remove colors to figure out the difference. El Pimo was initially hard to identify with the frame of the gate in the background. Basically, our main characters were of a similar level of brightness with rocks they stood on, and the straight line light around a giant rock accentuated lines in the image, but led to nowhere we intend to highlight to the viewers. In the modified version, the new silhouette alongside the use of light will more easily guide us visually to identify the characters. The story still remains, even though some of the details were toned down. The real difference here is the focal area that brings viewers' attention to our characters at first sight. I still like the original drawing a lot, with its nice color key-like illustration from an artist's perspective. And I believe there would be many other better solutions for this feature banner. But on that Saturday afternoon, the rule of composition saved my day and the banner. Actually, these rules of composition, focal area, are not new to game industry. When we talk about UI design, we use similar concepts all the time, such as rules of design perceptions, and tools like similarity and grouping of shapes to deliver similar visual presentation. I have only come to understand design perception quite late in my journey as a game artist. When I started my career in the game industry back in 2010, I was working for a small Korean game company named the Knowing Games that made Facebook game. My first mobile project was a simulation game called Airline World. Being the only artist in that team, I made everything on my own with no rules but only instincts and user experience to follow by tracking the assets on device frequently. 3 years later, I joined EA PopCap as the lead artist for Plants vs. Zombies 2 Chinese version. It's a live game, and my work was around creating game content updates that include characters, key art, and UI. One thing I noticed when working on the development side for content updates is that Chinese gamers are consuming content at a terrific speed. For every update, a new map with over 30 levels and an extra of 5 to 6 new characters is a must. Yet, we still hear complaints from the community that constantly crave to more levels and new gameplay. Having launched several updates of Plants vs. Zombies 2, I started my work in Happy Elements on casual games development. Happy Elements is best known for its high MAU game called Anipop, with an average MAU of over 100 million in 2017. I had a chance to make a casual game called Hot Pot Master with a small team and got featured in App Store before I moved to another match 3 game. With years of product development for mobile games, I started to develop an interest in what happens after the product launch and a new perspective that comes with the marketing side. More than 2 years ago, I transitioned my role into an art producer and began my work on marketing art in Supercell for China market. China is a huge market. Its mobile gaming landscape has seen a major increase between the year 2010 and to 2018. The growing number of mobile gamers peaked in 2020, adding up to a huge community of over 600 million now. The ecosystem here is quite different from its global peer. To take a look at the breakdowns of users by devices, there are more than 130 million iPhone users and 560 million Android users in China. As shown in a survey on the distribution of mobile game users in February 2018, the first popular gaming app was Kings of Glory of over 100 million unique downloads nationwide. The growing trend remains strong for the past few years before the new policy came out in 2018. The new policy was introduced at the end of 2018, which requires all digital games, including HTML5 ones, to apply for approval from the Regular of Game section, and secures game license number actually approved by government with strict reviews of all content to be published in China. Given the limited number of game license issues from the government to game companies, there have been much fewer games released in the market in that year. You can see the clear contrast in the number of new game launch in the chart below, marked by substantial decline since 2018. This has left users here with an ravenous appetite for good games. Brawl Stars global launch, except mainland China, kicked off at the end of 2018. And we eventually got approval license from China regulator after 1.5 years. What were we up against at that time? The market is in short of new games, yet we were not short of competition. The other major players who received their approval license in the same batch with us were also busy preparing their pipelines. So after several rounds of team discussion, China launch was finalized in early June. As I mentioned, Android takes more than 70% market share in China. Yet, the Android market is diverse and fragmented with 7 major Android stores in place. In the case of Brawl Stars, we worked with Tencent and Youzu for publishing. Tencent has its own app store, and Youzu helps us with other major app stores like Huawei, Oppo, and Xiaomi. Apart from different SDK requirements for app submission, the marketing assets request is also diverge from one store to another, given the varying user profile across platforms. For example, as one of the biggest Android app store, Huawei is very ambitious on assets. Remember the illustration shown at the very start? That one was customized for Huawei store. Users of Huawei App Store like feature art with a strong contrast or a compelling story. Users of Oppo, on the other hand, are mostly young females. In the wake of the Brawler Sprout release, Oppo Store gave a lot of positive feedback. According to them, users prefer the assets with cute characters and softer colors. To meet all the requests for Android stores, we optimized our initial marketing art assets pipeline. Building on our global assets, we have tailored our creative designs to align with preference of each Android app store. By working with Tencent Youzu, we can able to directly communicate with the resource niche department with peculiar requirement. As for Tencent, who has the biggest Android app store in China and owns the two biggest messenger app in China, WeChat and QQ, we have more opportunities for other forms of resources collaboration. For example, we have just provided a set of co-created resources in the forms of QQ skins and background, including portrait decorations, chat bubbles, and background images. And other splash animation idea was also proposed by Tencent to use Mr. P as the main character and create some form of interaction with the QQ penguin. In this case, once the QQ user opens QQ on their mobile, the animation will pop up. By that time, there were already 740 million users of mobile QQ. So this feature animation made by our in-house animator and freelancer artist. As a small team, we use outsourcing partners on this massive amount of work, from global art outsource company to freelancers. After years of outsource searching and training in projects, we set up our outsourcing pipeline for graphics, illustrations, posters, CG animation, 2D animation, and comics. Especially during the busiest time for marketing, outsourcing partners helped us a lot by sharing our workload in marketing artwork. China also has a lot of public holidays in a year, and the biggest one is the 7-day holiday of Chinese New Year. The mobile game's peak performance occurs during this period with the strongest DAU and revenue boost. Many mobile games take Chinese New Year as the once-in-a-year opportunity to step up performance. Many games prepared a lot of live ops during that time. For most Chinese games, to have Chinese New Year content in-game is a must. As for global games, localization also needs to be considered. You may have heard about the saying of localization is more than translation. My answer is yes and no. To me, localization is how we translate a game into local players' language by texts, visual assets, live ops, and marketing campaigns to reach out and connect with local players. There have been a lot of nice effort by global games like Overwatch and League of Legends. They have offered rich localized content like Chinese skins for players, all be quite popular and well sold. For Supercell, we started to bring in character skin features in-game after Brawl Stars release, as it enriched possibility in game content for local players. Furthermore, the Supercell Make website engaged our player to be part of the skin design and dabbles with great ease to see how it will look like in-game. Well, before that, we never stopped our exploration of new ways to engage local players with every possible revenue together with our dev team. Thanks for the high detailed movie quality 3D assets library built by our art extension team, Creature Shop, we are able to make new renderings based on existing character assets. So here are some of the tryouts I did with our team on Moon Festival and Dragon Boat Festival in Clash Royale, and also for Double 11 Day, known as the Chinese Black Friday on November 11th. These assets are mostly used on in-game pop-up window and offer panels, and they were also posted by our official account on social platforms or used as UA assets. When it comes to Chinese New Year, delivery of constant message is much more important to our marketing team when designing such large campaigns. As for marketing artists, we have the opportunity to create an instant and continuous visual experience with out-of-game and in-game, as well as online and offline assets. This is also how we apply the principle of unity with variety in marketing work. Let's take a look at Clash Royale 2019 Chinese New Year campaign. the key message of which is Clash Royale brings you good luck in the new year. This key visual was one of the main assets with king, prince, and princess, bringing lucky money and good fortune to the players represented by Hook Rider and Goblin. The child very much resembled for the gods of fortune in traditional Chinese. How Hook Rider was picked as representation of our local players. The interesting backstory lies within the fact that he is one of the players' favorite characters in the user survey due to his unique tune. And his arena, Hook Mountain, is also believed as Chinese arena by our players. Moreover, 2019 was the year of Hook. This key visual was used on different platforms, such as the landing page promoted on WeChat Moment or the biggest live streaming platform in China called Huya Live. Users will access Clash Royale game directly after clicking the button on the landing page if they have already installed the app. In fact, there was really an element of good luck we brought to players. For those who succeeded in the in-game challenge, their chances of receiving real-world reward afterwards. When a player opens Clash Royale game, he will see the pop-up window like this or this, depending on the date. Different pop-up visuals were prepared for each and every day throughout the Chinese New Year holiday. The pop-up window leads players to our CNY offer, which looks like this after the purchase. For that one-week offer, our art team came up with the idea to let Hook Rider conjure up conditions of Chinese New Year. Things like lucky gift money and worship to guardians of doors. And when gamers come to the challenge page, the same character is right here waiting. Once a player succeeded in one challenge, the challenge panel will turn over, revealing its back image. It is a piece of an image puzzle that invites the player to complete the chain challenge to gather the full image of a red envelope, which also conveys the message of you are eligible for a lucky draw. By then, the entire Chinese New Year journey of lucky from out-of-game and in-game experience was completed. A lot of effort goes into Lightbox like this from both marketing team and dev team sides. As a result, the uplift on revenue and popularity among users was pretty impressive during and after the campaign. There were also a lot of positive feedback posted within our community. In the next year, we pushed ourselves with Archer Queen's Chinese New Year skin design in Clash of Clans. This asset was used as new feeded ads on WeChat Moment. The animation was created with limited assets. The idea was from Hook Rider's Dog Guardians offer image you just saw. We also printed this Dog Guardians poster as the Chinese New Year gift to our players. From marketing art team's perspective, we were happy to bond with local players via New Year traditions in such a way. Design conception-wise, this was also another real-life example of how unity with variety can be applied in work by bringing diverse culture in the game, but keep them with the same visual style. Over the years, we have tried different media and platforms for different games, from Clash of Clans hero skin design to collaboration with local hip-hop singer, from esports venue to talk show settings. Working on the marketing art in China is full of challenge, with tight schedule and massive interfaces. But we also see opportunities and possibilities here and stand ready to try more. To use a more casual way to tell the Clash story for both Clash of Clans and Clash Royale players was another attempt. Given the great familiarity of our player community with the style of the game itself, a light-hearted style of comics that is more well accepted by Chinese users has been developed. The comic story includes game update content like new cards, gameplay, and also care within the game. For instance, the health and disease prevention elements in the comics created during COVID-19 were well received by many players, with loads of positive feedbacks. This style was also used in one of our HTML5 game on WeChat platform in other New Year campaigns. These comics were bi-monthly released on Clash Royale's official account on Chinese social media. The interplay among in-game marketing and community art in our case is much like what its context diagram indicates. In-game assets are those with the best player awareness and familiarity. Marketing art assets from the game come with the highest awareness, with much space for creative expression. Various means such as animation can be explored to bring in a sense of novelty. Community assets are mostly for veteran players who are already very familiar with the official style of the game itself. The drawing style that interprets the IP visual style has to be interesting and easy to relate to in order to reach out to them. There's also plenty of room and possibility to bring creativity into play in the area of complementary assets or fan art from both in-house artists and players. The unity of our official art style served to consolidate player awareness of game IP, and a variety of complementary assets and localized content bring in novelty and affinity. This is how we navigate marketing art in China. Thank you.